Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Whether you are returning tonight or discovering this quiet channel for the first time, this is a gentle place to slow down, learn something soft and real, and let the day gradually fall away. Tonight, we are drifting into the blue world of sea turtles. Picture one moving through clear ocean water, its front flippers reaching outward like slow wings. Its shell catches the filtered sunlight from above. Its head lifts slightly as it glides forward, calm and steady, as if the whole sea has made room for it. A sea turtle can look simple from a distance, just a dark shape moving through blue water. But inside that peaceful shape is a life built from many hidden systems. There is the old design of a reptile. There is the pull of air above the surface. There is the memory of beaches. There are ocean currents, magnetic fields, warm sand, moonlit horizons, and journeys so long they can cross entire seas. Sea turtles are not fish. They are reptiles, like snakes, lizards, and crocodiles. They breathe air with lungs, which means that even far from land, they must return to the surface. A sea turtle may spend most of its life in the water, but it is never fully separate from the world above it. It carries the ocean below its shell, and the sky inside its breathing. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. There are 7 living species of sea turtle in the world today. Their names are green, loggerhead, leatherback, hawksbill, olive ridley, Kemp's ridley, and flatback. Each one has its own shape, range, and way of surviving. The green turtle often grazes in shallow seagrass beds. The hawksbill has a narrow, pointed beak that helps it reach into coral reefs. The leatherback is the largest of them all, with a softer, leathery shell, instead of the hard shell most people picture. The flatback lives mostly in the warm waters near northern Australia and nearby regions, making it the most limited in range. 6 of the 7 species can be found in waters connected to the United States, from warm Atlantic beaches to the Gulf Coast, from Pacific Islands to coral reef edges. Their world is wide, but their needs are specific. They need places to feed. They need clean water to move through. They need darkness on nesting beaches. They need sand with the right warmth to hold their eggs. And they need air, always air, even after long dives beneath the surface. That is one of the quiet wonders of a sea turtle. It seems to belong entirely to the ocean, yet every breath reminds us that it is still tied to land and sky. When it rises, the movement can be almost invisible at first. A small shadow below the surface, a rounded head breaking through the water, a brief opening of the mouth. Then the turtle sinks again, carrying that breath downward into the blue. Some sea turtles rest underwater for long stretches. Some feed in shallow meadows where sunlight reaches the seafloor. Some move through open ocean where there are no trees, roads, signs, or shorelines. And still, they find their way. They are calm animals to watch, but their lives are not empty. They are full of exact timing and careful signals. A hatchling must read the brightness of the horizon. An adult female must return to sand after years away. A migrating turtle may follow invisible changes in Earth's magnetic field, a field made by movement deep inside the planet's core. That magnetic field is not something we can see, but it surrounds Earth like a quiet pattern. For some sea turtles, that pattern may help turn the open ocean into a kind of map. So tonight, the sea turtle becomes more than a peaceful image. It becomes a way to understand hidden guidance. It becomes a living link between old oceans and modern shores. It becomes a slow, breathing shape that carries millions of years of survival through the water. For now, you can simply picture that turtle gliding beneath the surface. Blue light above it. Soft sand somewhere far behind it. A beach somewhere far ahead. The shell is steady. The flippers move with patient rhythm. And in that quiet motion, the whole story begins. Beneath the surface, the turtle's body seems to know exactly what the water is asking of it. The front flippers move in slow, powerful strokes, more like wings than feet. Each stroke presses against the water and pushes the turtle forward with a smooth lift, the same way a bird's wing presses against air. The rear flippers are smaller and often work like rudders, helping the turtle steer as it glides through currents, turns around coral, or rises toward the surface for breath. A land turtle carries legs meant for walking under its shell. A sea turtle carries long paddles shaped for swimming. That difference changes everything. On land, a turtle's body has to lift, step, and balance. In water, the body can float. The ocean holds up the shell, and the flippers can spend their strength on forward motion instead of carrying weight. This is why a sea turtle can look so calm while crossing the sea. Its body is using the water as support. Its shape has been smoothed by evolution, the long process where living things change over many generations because certain traits help them survive. The top part of the shell is called the carapace. In most sea turtles, it forms a firm, curved shield over the back. The lower part is called the plastron, and it protects the underside. Together, these parts make the turtle's shell. But in sea turtles, the shell is lower and more streamlined than the tall, domed shell of many land tortoises. A tall shell is useful for protection on land. A flatter, smoother shell moves through water with less drag. Drag is the slowing force that water pushes back with when something moves through it. A rounded head, a smooth shell, and flippers held close to the body all help the turtle slip through the sea without wasting energy. Sea turtles also have a body plan that keeps them committed to this ocean life. Unlike many land turtles, sea turtles cannot pull their heads and flippers fully inside their shells. Their limbs have become too long and paddle-shaped for that old kind of hiding. The trade is clear in the shape of the animal. Protection is still there in the shell, but movement has become the greater need. The leatherback carries this idea even farther. It is the largest living turtle, and its back is covered by a flexible, leathery carapace instead of the hard plates found on green turtles, loggerheads, and hawksbills. 7 raised ridges run along a leatherback's back, guiding water along the body as it swims. This softer shell helps the leatherback dive deeply and move through colder parts of the ocean, where jellyfish drift like pale lanterns. Even with all these ocean-made features, the turtle still carries an old tie to land. Its eggs cannot develop in open seawater. They need air spaces in warm sand. They need a beach high enough that the tide does not wash over the nest every day. They need grains of sand packed closely enough to hold a chamber, yet loose enough for hatchlings to climb upward later. So the sea turtle's future begins in a place where its body moves with difficulty. When a female comes ashore, the same flippers that carry her so gracefully through water must drag her heavy shell across sand. Each pull leaves a wide track behind her. The front flippers sweep outward and press down. The body slides forward a little. The rear flippers shift and brace. Progress is slow, and the beach records every motion in long marks that look almost like tire tracks in the moonlight. Underwater, the turtle can rise, sink, turn, and drift with quiet ease. On sand, every meter takes work. Still, the beach is where the next generation waits to begin. A female may travel far from her feeding grounds to reach a nesting coast. Some return to the same broad region where they hatched many years before. The ocean gives them food, distance, and shelter, but warm sand gives them a future. Late at night, with waves folding softly behind her, a female turtle approaches the shore. Her head lifts above the dark water. Her shell appears for a moment in the wash of foam. The body that seemed so perfectly shaped for the sea is now moving toward land, carrying an ancient pattern older than the beaches beneath her. That ancient pattern reaches far back beyond any human shoreline. Long before harbors, fishing boats, beach lights, or wooden boardwalks, turtle-shaped reptiles were already moving through warm seas. The time was the Cretaceous period. It lasted from about 145 million years ago to 66 million years ago. That span is so large that it can be hard to picture, so it helps to place it beside something familiar. Modern humans have existed for only a tiny sliver of that time. The oldest cities are only thousands of years old. Sea turtle history reaches back into tens of millions of years, into oceans that covered different coastlines and held animals no person has ever seen alive. During the Cretaceous, the continents were still shifting toward their modern shapes. The Atlantic Ocean was wider than it had been earlier in Earth's history, though it was still changing. Sea levels were high, and shallow seas spread across parts of what are now North America, Europe, and other continents. In those waters lived ammonites with coiled shells, fish with heavy armor, and large marine reptiles that ruled many open water spaces. Among all that movement, early marine turtles were finding their own way. By about 120 million years ago, some of them already had a shape that would feel familiar today. They had shells. They had limbs changed into paddles. They had bodies better suited for swimming than walking. This matters because evolution usually works through small changes across many generations. A front limb that pushes more water can help an animal swim farther. A smoother shell can reduce drag. A flatter body can move with less resistance. Over long stretches of time, those useful changes can gather until a land-linked reptile becomes a true ocean traveler. The basic sea turtle design became a powerful solution. A shell gave protection. Large front flippers gave steady motion. A streamlined body helped the turtle pass through water without wasting too much energy. That design has been adjusted across species, but the central idea remains clear. A reptile kept its shell and learned the sea. One of the most striking ancient examples was Archelon. Archelon lived during the late Cretaceous, more than 70 million years ago. Its fossils have been found in places such as South Dakota, where a warm inland sea once covered the region. That ancient sea is called the Western Interior Seaway. It stretched through the middle of North America, dividing the continent with water, where grasslands and roads exist today. Archelon could measure up to about 15 feet from head to tail. A turtle that size would be longer than many small cars. Its broad body and long flippers show how far the turtle form could be pushed toward open water life. The shell of Archelon was different from the hard, solid dome many people imagine. It had a lighter frame, with ribs and plates that suggest a more flexible structure. That detail feels especially interesting beside the leatherback, the modern sea turtle with a leathery back, rather than a hard shell of large plates. Ancient forms and living forms do not match perfectly, but they echo one another in quiet ways. A sea turtle gliding today is not a fossil brought back to life. It is a living animal shaped by deep time. Its ancestors passed through changing oceans, shifting climates, vanished predators, and coastlines that rose and sank. Many ancient marine reptiles disappeared at the end of the Cretaceous, around 66 million years ago. Sea turtles endured through that boundary and continued into the modern world. That survival does not mean their lives were easy. It means the design kept working often enough for generation after generation to continue. A turtle still needs to breathe at the surface. A female still needs sand for her eggs. A hatchling still has to leave the nest and reach the water. The same broad pattern that moved through ancient seas now appears on quiet modern beaches. Out in the dark water, the female approaches land with slow strokes. Behind her is an evolutionary history, older than flowering grasslands, older than whales, older than any human name for the sea. Ahead of her is something much smaller than deep time. A strip of sand, a moonlit shore, a place soft enough to dig, warm enough to hold eggs, and high enough to keep the future above the tide. The first wave slides under her body and then falls back into the sea. For a moment, the turtle rests in the wash of foam, half held by water and half touching sand. Then her front flippers press down. The motion that looked weightless underwater becomes slower on the beach. Each flipper pulls a heavy arc through the sand. Her shell rises a little, slides forward, and settles again. Behind her, the beach keeps a record of the climb. The marks are wide and even, with a center groove where the weight of the body has passed. On some nesting beaches, rangers can identify the species from these tracks before they ever see the turtle. A loggerhead leaves a broad, alternating pattern because its front flippers move one after the other. A green turtle often leaves a more symmetrical trail, with both front flippers sweeping together. A leatherback track can be enormous, sometimes more than 6 feet wide from one flipper mark to the other. Nesting usually happens at night. Darkness helps keep the beach cooler. It also gives the female a better chance of avoiding heat stress, birds, and daytime disturbance. The air may still hold warmth from the afternoon, but the surface sand has begun to lose heat into the sky. Small ghost crabs move near the tide line. Waves fold and unfold behind her. Above the beach, dunes or vegetation form a darker edge against the sky. The female keeps moving until she reaches a place above the normal reach of the tide. This matters because sea turtle eggs need oxygen. They develop inside shells that feel soft and leathery, closer to damp parchment than a chicken egg. Waterlogged sand can block the tiny air spaces around them. A nest placed too low may flood during high tides or storms. A nest placed too close to hard, dry surface sand may become too hot or too exposed. When she finds a suitable spot, the female begins to dig. First, she clears a broad body pit with her front flippers. Sand sprays backward in soft fans. Then the rear flippers begin the more careful work. They move with surprising control, scooping small amounts of sand and placing it aside. The nest chamber forms below her tail, rounded and narrow, often shaped like a deep flask. In many species, it may reach roughly 0.5 meter below the surface, though the exact depth depends on the turtle, the beach, and the sand. This chamber is the real nursery. It holds warmth. It blocks many predators. It keeps the eggs away from direct sunlight, drying wind, and the daily movement of waves. A clutch often contains around 80 to 120 eggs, depending on the species and the individual female. Each egg drops into the chamber one by one. The shells are flexible, so they do not crack easily as they land together in the sand. The female covers them with slow, practiced motions. Her rear flippers pull sand back into the chamber. Her front flippers scatter loose grains across the area. By the time she is finished, the exact place of the nest can be hard to see. This covering helps hide scent and shape from animals that search beaches for eggs. The mother does not stay to guard the nest. Sea turtles invest their care in the placement, digging, covering, and timing. After that, the beach takes over. The eggs will incubate there for roughly 2 months, though the exact length can change with species, temperature, and local weather. Incubate simply means develop in protected warmth. Inside each egg, a small turtle begins forming organs, eyes, flippers, shell, and the tiny egg tooth it will later use to break free. The mother turns back toward the water. Her body moves more easily as the sand grows damp near the surf. A wave reaches her front flippers. Then another lifts the edge of her shell. Soon the ocean receives her weight again, and the tracks behind her begin softening in the night air. Beneath a smooth patch of beach, the clutch rests in darkness. The ancient journey has narrowed to hidden eggs, buried warmth, and grains of sand holding steady around them. Below the surface, the nest stays quiet from the outside. No shell is visible. No flipper moves through the moonlight. Only a covered patch of sand remains, shaped by wind, foot-sized grains, and the slow cooling of the night beach. Inside that hidden chamber, the eggs rest close together. Each one holds a developing turtle, and around each egg, the sand holds tiny spaces filled with air. Those air spaces matter. The growing hatchlings use oxygen as their organs form, and they release carbon dioxide back into the nest. A buried clutch is therefore part of the beach itself, connected to the warmth, moisture, and breathability of the sand around it. During the weeks of incubation, the nest does more than protect the eggs. It helps shape what kind of hatchlings will emerge. Sea turtles have a trait called temperature-dependent sex determination. That means the sex of the hatchlings is guided by temperature during development. In mammals, sex is usually shaped by chromosomes, the tiny packages of inherited instructions inside cells. In sea turtles, the warmth of the nest plays the key role. The most important window happens during the middle part of incubation, when the young turtle's body is forming its reproductive organs. At cooler temperatures, sea turtle nests tend to produce more males. At warmer temperatures, they tend to produce more females. For many sea turtles, eggs kept below about 27.7 degrees Celsius, or about 82 degrees Fahrenheit, tend to develop as males. Eggs kept above about 31 degrees Celsius, or about 88 degrees Fahrenheit, tend to develop as females. Between those temperatures, a nest may produce a mixture. Those few degrees are small enough to fit inside an ordinary weather forecast, yet they can shape an entire clutch. A nest shaded by dune grass may cool differently from a nest in open sun. A deeper chamber may hold a steadier temperature than one closer to the surface. Dark sand can absorb more heat than pale sand. Rain can cool the beach for a time and add moisture between the grains. A hot stretch of still weather can warm the upper layers day after day. Even the location on the beach matters, because sand near vegetation, sand near dry dunes, and sand closer to the tide line can each hold heat in a different way. The eggs themselves also add a small amount of warmth as the embryos grow. An embryo is a young animal in its earliest stage of development. As the tiny turtle builds muscle, bone, eyes, skin, and shell, its cells use energy. That energy creates a little heat inside the nest. In a large clutch of many eggs, this can make the center of the nest slightly warmer than the edges. A hatchling near the middle may experience a different temperature than one nearer the wall of sand. The process happens in silence. Above the nest, a beach may look empty. Small plants may shift in the wind. The moon may move slowly over the water. Tracks from the mother may fade as dry grains fall back into place. Underneath, chemical signals inside the developing turtles respond to warmth. Enzymes, which are proteins that help tiny chemical reactions happen in the body, take part in guiding hormones during this sensitive time. Hormones are message chemicals. They help cells follow one path of development instead of another. The beach is therefore acting like a natural incubator, with no walls, no glass, and no machine. Its settings are made by sunlight, cloud cover, rainfall, sand color, nest depth, and the season. On some nesting beaches in Florida, Costa Rica, Northern Australia, and islands across the Pacific, researchers place small temperature loggers in or near nests. These devices are about the size of a coin or a small battery. They record heat hour by hour, showing how much the nest changes between afternoon sun and pre-dawn coolness. The numbers help explain why two nests on the same beach can produce different results. One clutch may sit in a warmer patch near open sand. Another may rest under a slight shadow from dune plants. A few meters can matter. A few degrees can matter. Warming beaches add another layer to this delicate balance. Hotter sand can push more nests toward female-producing temperatures, especially during long, warm seasons. The full story is complex because storms, shade, rainfall, and local beach shape all play a role. Still, the basic mechanism is clear enough to picture. The future of a sea turtle population can be influenced by the quiet heat stored around buried eggs. For now, the clutch remains below the beach, held inside its warm chamber. The young turtles are still soft and unfinished. Their shells are forming. Their flippers are taking shape. When the time comes, the sand that helped shape them will become the first wall they have to climb through. Inside the nest, the first movements begin in darkness. A tiny hatchling presses against the inside of its egg with a small pale point on the front of its mouth. This point is called an egg tooth. It is temporary, made for one job, and it helps the young turtle cut through the leathery shell from the inside. The shell gives way slowly. Damp sand presses around the clutch. Nearby eggs shift as other hatchlings begin the same work. For many weeks, each turtle has been living on yolk. The yolk is the rich food stored inside the egg, the same basic idea as the yellow part of a bird egg. Before hatching, a sea turtle pulls the last of this yolk into its body, through a small opening in the belly. That stored energy becomes its first fuel. It will help the hatchling break out, climb upward, cross the beach, swim through the surf, and begin the first hard hours at sea. The nest does not open all at once. One turtle pushes, another turns. A small flipper rubs against a shell beside it. Grains of sand fall into the spaces where eggs have collapsed. The chamber that once held round, flexible eggs becomes a crowded pocket of moving bodies. This group movement matters. A single hatchling alone would have a difficult time digging through 1/2 meter of sand. Together, many hatchlings loosen the column above them. Each push breaks the packed grains a little more. Each small body shifts sand downward and creates a path upward. The movement is slow enough that from the beach surface, nothing may appear to happen at first. Below, the nest is changing from a nursery into a passageway. The hatchlings usually wait until conditions near the surface become cooler. On many beaches, that means night. Cooler sand can be safer for their small bodies because hot daytime sand can dry them out or overheat them. Darkness also reduces the number of daytime predators watching the beach. Still, night does not make the journey easy. Ghost crabs may patrol near the nest. Raccoons, foxes, gulls, herons, and frigate birds can take hatchlings on some beaches. Even dry sand, deep tire tracks, washed up seaweed, or footprints can become barriers when the animal crossing them is only a few centimeters long. A newly emerged loggerhead hatchling may fit in the palm of a human hand. Its shell is soft-edged and dark, often grey, brown, or almost black. The front flippers already look large for the body, because they must begin working almost immediately. Its eyes are open. Its lungs are breathing air. Its body carries the last stored energy from the egg. When the first hatchlings reach the surface, they may pause just beneath the top layer of sand. A slight drop in temperature can help trigger the final emergence. Then the surface breaks. Small heads appear. Flippers scrape through the loose grains. One hatchling comes out, then several more, until the nest seems to release a tiny living current onto the beach. The open air is filled with cues. The sand slopes. The breeze carries salt. Waves make low, repeated sound beyond the tide line. Light spreads differently over water than over dunes, plants, or buildings. For a turtle that has never seen the ocean, the world is already giving instructions. The hatchlings do not receive care from the mother. She may be far away by now, feeding or resting somewhere offshore. Their first journey belongs to instinct, stored energy, and the signals of the beach. Instinct means a built-in behavior that does not need to be learned from a parent. For hatchlings, the first instinct is movement. They begin to crawl. Flippers press into sand that gives way under each stroke. Small bodies lift, slide, and settle. A trail forms behind each turtle, thin and uneven, leading back to the nest opening. Every centimeter matters. The water may be only tens of meters away, yet for a hatchling, that distance is a wide landscape of ridges, shadows, scents, and moving air. The nest that held them has finished its part. The sand warmed them, shaped them, and hid them through the quiet weeks of development. Now the same beach becomes a surface to cross. At the edge of the nest, the hatchlings face their first open space. The sea is nearby, but direction must come from the world around them. The first signal is light. On a natural beach, the world is unevenly bright. Behind the hatchlings, dunes, grasses, shrubs, and tree lines usually make a darker wall. Ahead of them, the open ocean often creates a lower, wider glow. Moonlight, starlight, and sky glow spread across the water more evenly than across rough sand or dark plants. The sea becomes the brightest open space. For a hatchling only a few centimeters long, that difference can be enough. Its eyes do not need to understand the ocean the way a person does. They only need to detect contrast. Contrast means the difference between bright and dark. On an undeveloped beach, that simple difference points the hatchling toward the surf. The brightest place is usually the lowest horizon, where the sky meets the water. The darkest place is usually the raised land behind it. So the small turtle crawls toward the glow. This behavior is called light-based orientation. Orientation means finding direction. The hatchling is using the beach like a dim map, made of brightness, shadow, slope, and open space. Each flipper stroke carries it over ripples in the sand. A tiny ridge left by wind may slow it for a moment. A footprint may become a shallow wall. A piece of dried seaweed may have to be climbed over or moved around. Still, the bright horizon keeps pulling the body forward. The surf is also part of the signal. Waves reflect light as they break, and wet sand near the water can shine more than dry sand farther up the beach. The repeated movement of the foam gives the shoreline a soft flicker. To a hatchling, this flicker helps mark the place where land ends. The system works beautifully on a dark coast. It becomes fragile when the beach is filled with human light. A porch bulb, a hotel window, a street lamp, or headlights from a nearby road can become brighter than the ocean. The hatchlings may turn toward that light and crawl inland. A lamp that looks gentle from a balcony can become a false moon for an animal leaving its nest. Some hatchlings move toward parking lots. Others head toward buildings, roads, or dry up a beach. They use the same ancient rule, but the signal has changed. Artificial lighting can also affect adult females. A nesting female approaching a bright beach may hesitate, turn back, or choose a darker area. For a large turtle that has crossed long distances to reach a nesting coast, light on land can change where the eggs are placed. Beach communities in nesting areas sometimes use turtle-safe lighting to reduce this problem. Lights may be shielded so they point downward. Bulbs may be changed to longer wavelength amber or red colors, which are less attractive to many hatchlings than bright white or blue-rich light. Windows may be covered during nesting season. Outdoor lights may be turned off after dark. These small changes matter because the turtle's first map is so simple. A bright wrong place can overpower a dim correct one. Along coasts in Florida, Costa Rica, the Caribbean, Northern Australia, and many other nesting regions, volunteers and trained beach workers often check nests after hatchlings emerge. They look for tracks. They count empty shells. They note whether the tiny trails went toward the water or wandered in confused circles. The sand records the success and confusion of the night in fine lines. When the cues are right, the path becomes more direct. The hatchlings spread from the nest and angle toward the surf. Some move quickly, some pause and restart. A small wave reaches the lower beach and pulls back, leaving a shining sheet of water. The first turtle touches it and is lifted for a second. Another follows. Then the foam curls around their shells. The flippers that worked awkwardly on sand begin to beat against water. The body floats. The weight changes. The ocean takes over part of the work. For a short time, hatchlings swim with intense energy, pushing through the breaking waves and away from the shore. This early burst is sometimes called a swimming frenzy, a period of strong, nearly continuous movement that helps carry them out beyond the shallow surf zone. The beach grows dim behind them. The glow that guided them is now at their backs. Ahead, the water opens into a wider darkness, and the tiny turtles enter a part of life that once seemed almost invisible to science. Beyond the breaking waves, the water begins to move in larger patterns. The hatchlings' flippers beat quickly now, no longer scraping sand, no longer lifting the body over ridges and footprints. Salt water holds its weight. Small waves roll over its shell. Foam breaks above it, then clears, leaving darker water ahead. For the first hours after leaving the beach, many hatchlings swim with strong, steady effort. This early burst helps carry them away from shallow water, where fish, crabs, and seabirds often hunt. The little turtle is still carrying energy from the yolk it absorbed before hatching. That stored food is like a packed meal from the egg, enough to power the first urgent movement from nest to sea. Farther offshore, the beach lights fade. The sound of waves becomes wider and less sharp. The hatchling enters the open water stage of life. Scientists often call this period the lost years. The name sounds mysterious, but it comes from a real research problem. For a long time, people knew where many sea turtles nested, and they could study larger juveniles and adults in coastal feeding areas. The smallest turtles almost seemed to vanish after they entered the ocean. They were too small to follow easily. They moved through huge areas of water. They spent time far from shore, where a person standing on a beach could no longer see or count them. This early offshore life is called pelagic. Pelagic means living in the open sea, away from the sea floor and away from the coast. For a tiny sea turtle, the pelagic world is a moving nursery. Currents become roads. Floating seaweed becomes shelter. Small animals drifting in the surface water become food. One of the most important floating habitats is sargassum. Sargassum is a brown seaweed that can float without being attached to rock or reef. It forms loose mats and long tangled lines at the surface, especially in parts of the Atlantic. Its air-filled berries, called gas bladders, help it stay afloat. Under and around these mats live small crabs, shrimp, fish, snails, and other tiny animals. A young turtle can hide among the floating weed, rest near it, and pick food from the small community it holds. The color matters too. A hatchling's dark shell can blend with shadows under the seaweed. From above, the floating plants break up the outline of the small turtle. From below, the brightness of the surface can make shapes harder to separate. This does not make the hatchling safe from every predator, though it gives the young turtle a place to belong in a sea that would otherwise feel open on every side. For Atlantic loggerheads, the great surface currents can carry young turtles into broad ocean loops. The Gulf Stream moves warm water north along the eastern coast of North America. Farther out, the North Atlantic current system helps form a huge rotating pattern called a gyre. A gyre is a slow, basin-wide circle of moving water shaped by wind, Earth's rotation, and the edges of continents. A young turtle entering that system may spend years growing in offshore water before returning to coastal habitats. In 2013, marine biologist Kate Mansfield and her collaborators helped change how scientists saw this hidden stage. They placed small satellite tags on young loggerhead turtles and tracked them after release into the Atlantic. A satellite tag sends location signals when the turtle surfaces, allowing researchers to follow movements that would otherwise disappear into open water. Tagging very young turtles is difficult because the animal is small and growing. The device must be light enough that it does not interfere with swimming. Even a short tracking record can reveal currents, travel routes, and habitat use that were once guessed from rare sightings. These studies showed that the lost years were not empty years. The turtles were moving through real habitats, especially warm surface waters and drifting communities. They were feeding, hiding, growing, and riding ocean patterns larger than any beach. A hatchling that began as a small shape under moonlight now belongs to the moving skin of the sea. The nest is far behind. The shore has become a memory stored only in the body. Around the turtle, water shifts by temperature, current, scent, and wave. The bright horizon helped it find the ocean, but open water has no single glowing line to follow. As the young turtle drifts into the current, the world becomes too wide for light alone. Out beyond the beach, the water offers fewer visible signs. A young loggerhead may drift under a sky that changes from clear blue to clouded grey, while the ocean below keeps moving in broad, slow patterns. There are no dunes ahead. There are no trees behind it. There is only water, light, current, temperature, and the faint pull of forces the human eye cannot see. One of those forces is Earth's magnetic field. Deep inside the planet, liquid iron moves within the outer core. That movement helps create a magnetic field that surrounds Earth, reaching from the ground beneath our feet far out into space. A compass needle responds to this field, turning toward magnetic north. Sea turtles appear to sense parts of this same planet-wide pattern. The field is not identical everywhere. It changes from place to place in strength and angle. In Florida, the magnetic field has one pattern. In the middle of the North Atlantic, it has another. Near the coast of Portugal, the pattern shifts again. To a migrating animal, these differences can act like invisible regional signatures. Scientists often describe two parts of magnetic navigation. One part is a compass sense. A compass helps an animal keep a direction, such as north, south, east, or west. The other part is a map sense. A map helps an animal recognize location, or at least recognize that one region feels different from another. Sea turtles seem to use both ideas. A hatchling entering the Atlantic may need to stay within a large ocean current system. An adult female returning years later may need to approach a particular coast. Direction alone would help, though it would not be enough for the whole journey. The idea called geomagnetic imprinting helps explain part of this. Geo means Earth. Magnetic refers to the planet's magnetic field. Imprinting means learning a signal early in life and keeping it as a lasting reference. According to this idea, a young turtle may learn the magnetic signature of the beach region where it hatched. Years later, when it is mature, that stored magnetic memory may help guide it back toward the same general nesting area. This does not mean the turtle carries a perfect picture of the beach. It may carry something quieter and stranger, a remembered pattern of magnetic strength and angle. That idea fits with the way many female sea turtles return to nest in the same broad region where they began life. Some return to the same beach. Others return to nearby beaches along the same coast. The match is often close enough to suggest that early experience leaves a trace. In 2025, researchers at the University of North Carolina reported evidence that loggerhead sea turtles can learn and remember magnetic signatures from different geographic regions. In experiments, young loggerheads were placed in magnetic fields that copied real places in the ocean. When food was associated with one magnetic pattern, the turtles later responded to that same pattern again. That result showed something important. Loggerheads were not only reacting to magnetic direction, they were able to learn that a specific magnetic signature was connected with a place-like meaning. The exact sensory process is still being studied. Sea turtles do not have a visible compass organ that can simply be pointed to and named. Some animals may use tiny magnetic particles in their bodies. Others may use chemical reactions affected by magnetic fields. Scientists continue testing how turtles detect the signal and how the nervous system turns it into behavior. The mystery remains calm and precise. A turtle in open water may be reading information that passes through its body every moment. No landmark rises from the waves. No road leads across the sea. Still, the planet itself carries patterns, and the turtle's body appears tuned to them. This magnetic sense matters most because the ocean childhood of a sea turtle is huge. A pond can be crossed by sight. A bay can be shaped by shoreline. An ocean basin asks for something larger. The young loggerhead riding offshore currents belongs to a moving world that can stretch thousands of kilometers across the Atlantic. A remembered beach lies far behind it. A future coast waits somewhere beyond the curve of water. Between those places, the turtle drifts and swims through a map written without ink, held quietly in the field of the earth. Across the Atlantic, the water itself begins to carry part of the journey. A young loggerhead, Cretaceous, may be only a small dark shape at the surface, yet it has entered one of the largest moving systems on Earth. The North Atlantic is crossed by currents that turn in a broad, slow circle. This circle is called the North Atlantic Gyre. A gyre is a huge rotating pattern of ocean water, shaped by steady winds, Earth's rotation, and the edges of continents. In the Western Atlantic, the Gulf Stream carries warm water north along the coast of North America. Farther out, water bends eastward across the ocean. Near Europe and northwest Africa, parts of the flow turn south. Closer to the tropics, the current can move west again, helping complete the Great Loop. For a young loggerhead from a nesting beach in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, or the Caribbean, this ocean system can become a drifting path. The turtle is not simply carried like a leaf. It can swim, dive, rest, and adjust its direction. Still, the current gives the journey its large shape. A hatchling that leaves the beach weighing only a few grams may enter offshore water and spend years in the open Atlantic before returning to shallower coastal habitats as a larger juvenile. During those years, the turtle's world may include floating sargassum, warm surface water, small prey animals, and long stretches with no land in sight. The distances are difficult to picture from shore. From the coast of Florida to the eastern side of the Atlantic is more than 6,000 kilometers, or around 3,700 miles, depending on the route. A young turtle does not cross that space in a straight line. Its path can curve with currents, eddies, storms, and temperature changes. An eddy is a smaller swirl of water that spins off from a larger current, almost like a slow whirlpool in the open sea. To researchers, these early movements were once mostly hidden. Small turtles could not easily carry large tracking devices. Their shells grew quickly. Their roots stretched far beyond boats watching near the beach. In 2013, Kate Mansfield and her research team helped reveal part of this hidden period by placing small satellite tags on young loggerheads. The tags sent signals when the turtles surfaced, giving scientists real paths instead of guesses. Those tracks showed that juvenile loggerheads could move through warm offshore waters and use surface habitats in ways that matched the idea of a moving nursery. A nursery in this sense means a place where young animals can feed, grow, and gain size before entering the next stage of life. For sea turtles, the nursery does not have walls. It can be a floating patch of weed, a warm band of current, or a region where small prey gather near the surface. Magnetic cues may help the young turtle remain within useful ocean zones. In laboratory studies, loggerhead hatchlings placed in magnetic fields that match different parts of the Atlantic often respond by swimming in directions that would help keep them inside the gyre. A magnetic field from one region can trigger one swimming direction. A magnetic field from a different region can trigger a different response. This suggests that the turtle is not drifting blindly through the whole ocean. Its body can react to invisible regional signals, helping it avoid being swept into water that is too cold, too far north, or too dangerous for its stage of life. The magnetic map does not need to be perfect to be useful. Even a rough sense of place can matter in a moving ocean. If the turtle can detect that it has reached a certain magnetic region, then a built-in swimming response may help it turn back toward warmer water or remain inside the broad loop. Currents provide motion. Magnetic cues provide adjustment. Together, they allow a very small animal to take part in a journey shaped at the scale of an ocean basin. Years pass in this surface world. The shell grows larger and harder. The flippers strengthen. The young loggerhead begins to shift from the tiny hatchling that crossed the moonlit sand into a stronger juvenile that can use coastal feeding areas. Its first life stage has stretched across water wider than many countries. Loggerheads show one path through the sea turtle story, shaped by Atlantic currents and magnetic signals. Other species follow different routes, feed in different places, and solve ocean life with different bodies. The same ancient turtle design has become 7 living forms, each carrying its own quiet answer to the sea. That shared design spreads into 7 living species. Each one carries the same old turtle plan through the ocean in a slightly different way. A shell, a pair of strong front flippers, a need to breathe air, a return to land when the time comes to place eggs in sand. From there, the paths begin to separate. The green turtle, Chelonia midas, often becomes a grazer as an adult, feeding on seagrass and algae in shallow coastal water. The loggerhead, Cretaceous, has a large head and powerful jaws that can crush hard-shelled prey like conchs, crabs, and whelks. The leatherback, Dermochelys coriacea, grows larger than any other living turtle and travels into deep, cold water after jellyfish. The hawksbill, Eretmochelys imbricata, has a narrow, pointed beak that can reach into coral reef cracks. The olive ridley, Lepidochelys olivacea, is known for mass nesting events where many females come ashore close together. The Kemp's ridley, Lepidochelys kempi, is the smallest sea turtle and one of the most endangered. The flatback, Natator depressus, lives in a much more limited region, mostly near northern Australia and nearby Indo-Pacific waters. Together, these 7 species show how one ancient body shape can be adjusted for many ocean lives. Some stay close to reefs. Some travel across open basins. Some feed in green meadows where sunlight reaches the seafloor. Some search for soft prey in water so deep that sunlight fades away. 6 of the 7 species are found in waters connected to the United States. Those 6 are the green loggerhead leatherback, hawksbill olive ridley, and Kemp's ridley. They are protected under the Endangered Species Act, a US law created in 1973 to help protect animals and plants at risk of disappearing. That protection matters because sea turtles grow slowly, travel widely, and face threats in many places during a single lifetime. A turtle may hatch on one beach, spend early years offshore, feed along a distant coast, then return years later to nest. Protecting only one place can help, although the animal's life reaches far beyond one shoreline. The flatback gives a different example. Its range is much smaller than the others. Instead of crossing many oceans, it is closely tied to the continental shelf waters around Australia. A continental shelf is the shallow edge of a continent that continues underwater before dropping into deeper sea. Flatbacks nest only in Australia, which makes their life story especially tied to that region's beaches and coastal waters. Even their name comes from shape. A flatback's shell is lower and flatter than the domed shells of many other sea turtles. Species differences show up in the mouth as clearly as in the shell. A loggerhead's broad head gives room for strong jaw muscles. Those jaws help break prey with hard outer coverings. A hawksbill's beak works more like a narrow tool, useful for picking food from reef openings. A green turtle's serrated lower jaw helps crop plants. Serrated means having a toothed edge, like the edge of a small saw. These body details guide where each turtle can feed. Feeding then shapes the role each turtle plays in its habitat. A hawksbill moving through a reef affects sponge growth. A green turtle grazing on seagrass affects underwater meadows. A leatherback eating jellyfish links the turtle to drifting open water food webs. The name sea turtle can make them sound like one kind of animal, yet the ocean has shaped them into different workers inside different systems. Their shared ancestry gives them a family resemblance. Their diets, ranges, and nesting habits give them separate lives. A listener watching one turtle swim through blue water may now picture more than a single species. There may be a loggerhead crossing the Atlantic, a hawksbill slipping through coral branches, a leatherback rising from deep water with a breath held through a long dive. Among them, the green turtle offers a calm place to look closely. Its path leads toward shallow water, where blades of seagrass bend with the current, and sunlight reaches the sandy floor. In shallow coastal water, the sea floor can turn into a meadow. Sunlight reaches down through a few meters of clear water and lands on long green blades rooted in sand. These plants are seagrasses. They are true flowering plants with roots, leaves, tiny flowers, and seeds. They live underwater in salty coastal places where light can still reach them, such as lagoons, bays, reef flats, and the edges of tropical islands. A green turtle moving through this meadow looks almost weightless. Its shell passes over the blades. Its flippers stir small clouds of sand. Its head lowers, and the mouth closes around a clump of seagrass. Adult green turtles are the main herbivores among sea turtles. Herbivore means an animal that feeds mostly on plants. Young green turtles can eat small animals, including jellyfish, worms, small crustaceans, and other drifting prey. As they grow, many shift toward a diet made mostly of seagrasses and algae. Algae are simple plant-like organisms that can grow on rocks, reefs, shells, and many other surfaces. This diet is the reason green turtles are called green. The name comes from the greenish color of their body fat, which is linked to the plants they eat. Their shells are usually brown, olive, gray, or patterned with lighter markings. In places such as the Caribbean, the Florida Keys, the Bahamas, and parts of the Great Barrier Reef, green turtles may feed in meadows of turtle grass, whose scientific name is Thalassia testudinum. That name quietly carries the turtle inside it. Testudinum comes from a word linked to turtles. A blade of turtle grass can grow in sandy bottom water and spread through underground stems called rhizomes. Rhizomes help the plant form wide mats below the surface, holding sediment in place the way roots hold soil on land. When a green turtle grazes, it clips the seagrass down. The bite does more than remove food. Grazing can keep the meadow younger and more productive, because fresh blades grow back after older blades are cropped. A heavily overgrown meadow can collect dead material, slow water flow, and become less useful for some animals. A grazed meadow often has shorter, newer shoots. Those young shoots can be easier for turtles to digest and can provide habitat for small fish, shrimp, snails, and crabs. The turtle returns to the same feeding areas again and again, much like a grazing animal on land returning to a pasture. In some places, researchers have seen clear grazing plots where turtles keep the seagrass cropped into low patches. The edge of a plot may show taller blades outside and shorter blades inside, marking the turtle's repeated meals in the shape of the meadow itself. Seagrass beds matter far beyond the turtle. Small fish hide between the blades. Conch and sea urchins feed nearby. Young reef fish may use the meadow before moving to coral habitat later in life. The plant's slow-moving water catch fine sediment and help keep coastal water clearer. Seagrasses also store carbon in their leaves, roots, and buried soils. Carbon is the basic element found in living tissue, and when it is stored in coastal plants and sediments, it can remain locked away for long periods. So a green turtle grazing quietly through a meadow is part of a larger coastal system. Its mouth changes the height of the grass. The grass changes the shelter available to small animals. The roots change the sand beneath the water. The meadow helps shape the edge of the sea. Nothing about this work looks dramatic. The turtle simply lowers its head, tears a mouthful free, and moves a little farther along the bottom. A trail of trimmed blades may be the only sign. Still, over weeks, seasons, and years, those repeated bites can guide how the meadow grows. The ancient swimmer becomes a gardener of shallow water. Beyond the green pasture, the seafloor grows harder and more crowded. Coral heads rise from the bottom. Small openings appear between limestone branches and reef walls. There, a different sea turtle moves with a narrower face, using a sharp beak to reach food hidden in the reef. Its face gives away its work. The hawksbill turtle, Eretmochilis imbricata, carries a narrow head and a curved upper jaw that looks a little like the beak of a hawk. That shape gives the species its common name. In clear reef water, the beak becomes a careful tool. A hawksbill can slip its head between coral branches, limestone cracks, and shaded holes that a broader-headed turtle could not use as easily. The reef around it is crowded with life. Hard corals build stony skeletons from calcium carbonate, the same mineral found in limestone and seashells. Over many years, those coral skeletons form ridges, ledges, caves, and tunnels. Tiny fish move between them. Sea fans bend in the current. Bright patches of algae grow on sunlit surfaces. Inside the smaller openings, sponges attach themselves to rock and coral. Sponges may look like simple lumps or soft-colored crusts, yet they are animals. They feed by drawing water through their bodies and filtering out tiny bits of food. Some sponges contain sharp internal pieces called spicules. Spicules can be made of glass-like silica or chalky calcium carbonate, and they help support the sponge's body. Many sponges also carry strong chemical defenses that make them unpleasant or difficult for many animals to eat. Hawksbills are unusually well suited for this food. In many reef areas, sponges make up a large part of their diet. Their beak can pinch, tear, and reach into places where sponge tissue grows along rough reef surfaces. The turtle may brace with its flippers, lower its head, and work carefully at one patch before moving to another. Each bite looks small beside the size of the reef, yet repeated feeding can matter. Sponges compete for space with corals and other reef life. On a reef, space is valuable. A bare patch of hard surface can become home to coral larvae, algae, sponge, or another attached organism. Larvae are young animals in an early stage of life, often tiny and drifting before they settle. When hawksbills eat sponges, they can help open small spaces and shift the balance of reef growth. This does not make the turtle a reef manager in a human sense. Its role comes through feeding, body shape, and repetition. A mouth designed for narrow places can affect which organisms gain room on a reef. Hawksbills also eat more than sponges. Their diet can include algae, soft corals, mollusks, crustaceans, sea urchins, small fish, jellyfish, and tunicates. A mollusk is an animal such as a snail, clam, or octopus. A crustacean is an animal with a jointed outer shell, such as a crab or shrimp. Tunicates are soft sea animals, sometimes called sea squirts, because some release water when touched. This variety shows how the hawksbill uses the reef as a layered feeding ground. Some food grows attached to rock, some hides in cracks, some drifts by in the water. The shell of a hawksbill also carries a distinct pattern. Its scutes, the large plates on the shell surface, often overlap slightly like roof shingles. The shell can show amber, brown, gold, and dark streaks, a pattern once called tortoiseshell in trade. That beauty led to heavy hunting in past centuries, because hawksbill shell was used for combs, jewelry, and decorative objects. The living turtle is far more important than any object made from it. In the reef, the patterned shell is part of a breathing animal, moving through a detailed world of coral stone, sponge tissue, and filtered sunlight. A green turtle trims underwater meadows with a grazing mouth. A hawksbill searches the reef with precision, using a sharper face to reach food, tucked into small spaces. Each species turns anatomy into a way of living. The reef makes that lesson easy to see, because every curve, hole, and hidden surface gives the turtle a task. Beyond the bright reef, the ocean changes again. The water cools. The light thins. A much larger turtle moves away from shallow structure and follows drifting prey into depth. The reef fades as the leatherback moves into open water. Its path leads away from coral branches and sunlit ledges into a wider blue where the seafloor drops and the temperature begins to fall. The leatherback, Dermocheles coriacea, is the largest living turtle on Earth. A full-grown adult can reach more than 6 feet in shell length, and some weigh more than 1,000 pounds. The body looks different from the hard-shelled turtles of reefs and seagrass beds. Its back is covered by a dark, flexible carapace with a leathery surface. 7 long ridges run from front to back, giving water a smooth path along the body as it swims. This shape helps the leatherback move with surprising grace for such a large animal. Its front flippers can stretch wider than a person is tall. Each stroke carries a heavy body forward through water that grows colder with depth. The leatherback's size is part of its strength. Large bodies lose heat more slowly than small bodies because their volume is great compared with their outer surface. This helps the turtle stay warmer during dives into cold water. A thick layer of fat under the skin also helps hold heat. Fat works like insulation, slowing the movement of warmth out of the body, much as a winter coat slows heat loss from a person standing in cold air. Leatherbacks also have special blood vessel arrangements in their flippers. Warm blood moving out from the body passes close to cooler blood returning from the flippers. Heat can shift between the vessels before it is lost to the sea. This kind of arrangement is called countercurrent heat exchange. Countercurrent simply means 2 flows moving in opposite directions beside each other. The system helps the turtle save warmth while still sending blood through its large swimming limbs. Depth adds another challenge. A leatherback must dive while holding its breath. It has lungs, and it must surface for air, yet it can stay underwater for remarkable lengths of time. Some dives can last up to about 85 minutes. Leatherbacks can dive to around 4,000 feet, and the deepest recorded sea turtle dive is close to 1,200 meters, or about 3,937 feet. At that depth, sunlight is almost gone. The pressure is enormous. Every 10 meters of seawater adds about 1 atmosphere of pressure, which is roughly the pressure of the air at sea level. At 1,200 meters, the turtle is under pressure more than 100 times greater than at the surface. The leatherback's body is suited for this. Its flexible shell can handle pressure changes better than a rigid dome. Its lungs can compress during deep dives, reducing problems that trapped air can cause. Its muscles store oxygen with the help of a protein called myoglobin. Myoglobin holds oxygen inside muscle tissue, allowing the muscles to keep working after the turtle has left the surface. Blood also carries oxygen through the body. During a long dive, the turtle can slow parts of its activity and use oxygen carefully. This does not make the deep ocean easy. It makes the dive possible. The water down there is cold, dark, and heavy. Sounds travel far. Light becomes faint. The turtle's body moves through a place most reptiles never enter. Many reptiles depend strongly on outside warmth from the sun, warming themselves on rocks, sand, or shallow water. The leatherback can forage in places where that warmth is distant. It has been seen in waters from tropical nesting beaches to temperate and even subpolar feeding areas. Some cross entire ocean basins between nesting and feeding grounds. A leatherback may nest on a warm beach in the Caribbean, South America, West Africa, or the Western Pacific, then travel through cooler waters where its food gathers. The dive itself is quiet to picture. The turtle takes air at the surface. Its head lowers. The ridged back slips under. The flippers begin their steady rhythm. Above it, waves brighten and break. Below it, the water darkens by degrees. This turtle has carried the sea turtle form farther downward than any of its living relatives. Its size, blood, fat, shell, and breathing all work together in the cold. The reason for such effort drifts ahead in the dim water, soft-bodied and pale, rising and sinking with the currents. In the dim water ahead, the leatherback follows food that looks almost weightless. Jellyfish drift with soft bells, trailing arms, and thin tentacles that move as the water moves. A jellyfish has no bones. Its body is mostly water, held in a clear, delicate shape. Many belong to a group called cnidarians. Cnidarians are animals with stinging cells, tiny structures that can release a thread-like barb when touched. Those stinging cells help jellyfish catch small fish, plankton, and other drifting prey. For the leatherback, jellyfish are food worth traveling for. Its throat and mouth are lined with backward-pointing spines called papillae. These papillae help grip slippery prey and guide it downward after it is swallowed. The leatherback does not chew like a mammal. It uses its jaws, throat, and strong swallowing motion to handle soft prey that could easily slide away. The match between turtle and prey is precise. A jellyfish can pulse through surface water. A leatherback can follow it downward. A jellyfish can gather where currents meet. A leatherback can travel across wide regions to find those gatherings. Some jellyfish rise and sink through the water over a day. This daily up and down movement is called vertical migration. Vertical means moving between shallow and deep water. Many small ocean animals do this as well, often rising closer to the surface at night and sinking deeper during daylight. The leatherback's deep diving ability gives it access to prey spread through these layers. A feeding journey may begin near the surface, then continue into colder water, where jellyfish drift below the bright upper sea. This kind of feeding helps explain the leatherback's long migrations. A turtle may leave a warm nesting beach and travel thousands of kilometers toward rich feeding areas. Some leatherbacks cross from tropical nesting beaches to cooler waters where jellyfish are more common. In parts of the Atlantic and Pacific, they may follow broad seasonal patterns of prey, temperature, and current. The turtle's life becomes linked to animals that have little control over where the sea carries them. That ancient feeding system worked for a very long time. Then new floating shapes entered the water. Plastic bags, film, wrappers, fishing line, balloons, and other marine debris can drift, fold, shine, and pulse in ways that resemble soft-bodied prey. Marine debris means human-made material that ends up in the ocean or along the shore. A loose plastic bag in water may billow like a jellyfish bell. A balloon ribbon may trail like a thin tentacle. A clear scrap of packaging may flash and fade as waves turn it. The problem begins with resemblance. The turtle's senses evolved in an ocean filled with living prey, seaweed, foam, and moving light. They did not evolve with plastic, because plastic is a recent material in the long history of sea turtles. Modern plastics became common during the 20th century, while the sea turtle body plan reaches back more than 100 million years. That time gap matters. A feeding response shaped by ancient oceans can meet objects made by modern life. When a turtle swallows plastic, the material may take up space in the gut. It can reduce feeding, cause injury, or make it harder for food to pass normally. Fishing line and rope can wrap around flippers or necks. Balloons released far inland can travel through rivers, wind, and storm drains before reaching the sea. To a person, a balloon may seem to vanish into the sky. To an ocean animal, it may later become a drifting object near the surface. The leatherback still moves with the same patient strength. It still rises to breathe. It still dives through water that darkens with depth. Its papillae still help it hold soft prey. Its long migrations still follow the scattered pattern of jellyfish. The change is in the material floating among those signals. An ancient hunter now searches through a sea that contains shapes. Older instincts cannot always sort correctly. This quiet risk does not erase the wonder of the animal. It adds a modern layer to the old design. The leatherback shows endurance in deep, cold water, following fragile prey through a vast ocean. Along other coasts, a different answer to survival gathers slowly in the dark. There, turtles return not as solitary deep divers, but as many bodies arriving on the same beach under the same night sky. The dark shoreline begins to fill with slow movement. At first, a single rounded shell appears in the wash of foam. Then more shapes rise behind it, each one pushed forward by waves and its own steady flippers. The beach that once held one nesting female now receives many. Olive Ridley turtles, Lepidochelys olivacea, are famous for this kind of gathering. They are small compared with leatherbacks, often weighing around 75 to 100 pounds as adults, with olive-grey shells that give them their name. Many olive ridleys nest alone, coming ashore separately like other sea turtles. In certain places, under certain conditions, they also nest together in huge synchronized events called arribadas. Arribada is a Spanish word that means arrival. For sea turtles, it describes a mass arrival of nesting females on the same stretch of beach over a short period of time. On some beaches, thousands of olive ridleys may come ashore. In especially large events, tens of thousands can arrive across several nights. The beach becomes a moving field of shells, tracks, and careful digging. Famous arribada beaches include Ostional in Costa Rica, La Escobilla in Mexico, and Gahirmata along the coast of Odisha in eastern India. These places are more than scenic nesting sites. They are biological gathering points, where the timing of many turtles overlaps in a way that is still not fully explained. Wind, tides, moon phase, offshore grouping, and seasonal cycles may all play a role. Scientists have studied whether females gather near the coast first, then respond to shared cues that bring them ashore together. The result is one of the most visually striking behaviors in the sea turtle world. A female olive ridley climbs above the tide line, digs with her rear flippers, lays her eggs, covers the nest, and returns to the surf. Nearby, another female may be digging at the same time. Farther down the beach, many more are already working. Fresh tracks cross older tracks. Loose sand shifts under heavy shells. The air holds the sound of waves, flipper strokes, and sand scattering in the dark. Mass nesting can help in a simple way. Predators such as birds, crabs, raccoons, dogs, pigs, or other animals may eat eggs or hatchlings. When only a few nests are laid, predators may find and take a large share. When thousands of nests appear close together, the number of eggs can become too great for predators to consume completely. This idea is called predator swamping. Swamping means overwhelming through numbers. The turtles do not fight off every threat. They reduce the odds that every egg will be found. Each female may lay around 100 eggs in a clutch, though the number varies. During a large arrabada, the total number of eggs placed in the sand can become enormous. Some nests may be disturbed by other turtles digging nearby. Some eggs may be uncovered. Some hatchlings may face crowded conditions later. Even so, enough eggs can remain buried long enough to continue the cycle. This strategy belongs to a narrow branch of the sea turtle family. Arrabada nesting is found only in the genus Lepidochelys. A genus is a group of closely related species. In this case, Lepidochelys includes olive ridleys and Kemp's ridleys. Those two species share the remarkable habit of synchronized mass nesting, though they live in different ranges and have different conservation stories. The contrast with the leatherback is gentle and clear. The leatherback survives through size, depth, and long travel after drifting prey. The olive ridley often leans on timing and numbers, gathering many nesting females on a few important beaches. A single turtle crossing sand can feel vulnerable. Thousands arriving together can feel almost powerful. Yet that power depends on place. It depends on the beach being open, dark, wide enough, and safe enough for the ancient behavior to continue. When so many eggs are placed in certain coastal areas, the future of the species becomes tied closely to those strips of sand. Abundance gathers there, shell by shell, under the night sky. Fragility gathers with it, because a crowded nesting beach can hold a whole population's hope in one narrow place. That narrowness becomes especially clear with the Kemp's ridley. Kemp's ridley, Lepidochelys kempi, is the smallest sea turtle in the world. An adult often weighs around 70 to 100 pounds, making it much lighter than a loggerhead and tiny beside a leatherback. Its shell is usually grey-green and rounded, often wider than it is long. The head is small, the beak is slightly hooked, and the body has the same strong flippers that tie all sea turtles to the water. Its name comes from Richard M. Kemp, a fisherman and naturalist from Key West, Florida. In 1906, Kemp submitted the turtle for identification, helping bring scientific attention to a species that had long lived along warm Gulf waters. The animal now carries his name, but its deeper identity belongs to a very specific region. Kemp's ridleys are mainly connected to the Gulf of America, formerly called the Gulf of Mexico. This warm basin is bordered by Mexico, the southern United States, and Cuba. Its waters hold shrimp grounds, seagrass beds, muddy bottoms, and shallow coastal zones where young turtles can feed. Juveniles can wander much farther. Some have been recorded along the Atlantic coast of North America, reaching as far north as Nova Scotia. That range sounds wide, but the species' nesting story is much more concentrated. The most important nesting beach for Kemp's ridley is near Rancho Nuevo, in Tamaulipas, Mexico. This stretch of coast became famous because of a remarkable film made in 1947 by engineer Andres Herrera. The footage showed an enormous daytime arrabada, with tens of thousands of Kemp's ridleys nesting on the same beach. That film became one of the most important records in sea turtle conservation, because it showed the species at a scale later generations could barely imagine. Kemp's ridleys still nest in arrabadas like their olive ridley relatives. Their mass nesting usually happens during the day, which is unusual among sea turtles. A bright beach, a warm surf line, and many small grey shells moving at once make the scene very different from the solitary night nesting of a loggerhead or green turtle. Daytime nesting may help the turtles use certain winds, tides, and beach conditions, though the full timing is still studied. The mechanism behind their vulnerability is simple to picture. When a species places much of its nesting effort in a small number of locations, those beaches become deeply important. A storm season, heavy egg collection, coastal disturbance, bright lights, or changes in sand condition can affect many nests at once. Geography becomes part of the risk. The danger is tied to where the animals gather, not only to how many animals exist. Kemp's ridley is listed as endangered. That word means the species faces a serious risk of disappearing without protection. All 6 sea turtle species found in US waters are protected under the Endangered Species Act, including green turtles, loggerheads, leatherbacks, hawksbills, olive ridleys, and Kemp's ridleys. For Kemp's ridley, protection has often focused on nesting beaches, eggs, hatchlings, and adult females coming ashore. People have guarded nests, moved eggs when needed, reduced disturbance, and watched the same beaches season after season. Those efforts matter because a single protected nest can hold around 100 eggs. A protected beach can hold many nests. Across years, those nests can become returning adults. The timeline is slow because sea turtles take years to mature. A hatchling protected today will not return as a nesting female next summer. It may take more than a decade before it contributes to a new generation. This makes sea turtle recovery a patient kind of science. The work is measured in seasons, surveys, nest counts, and returning tracks in the sand. Still, a beach is only one part of the life. After a female nests, she returns to the water. After hatchlings reach the surf, they enter currents and feeding grounds. A Kemp's ridley that began on a protected beach may later move through shrimping areas, boat traffic, fishing lines, and nets. The nest can be guarded. The shoreline can be watched. The sea is harder to fence, harder to patrol, and harder to read from a distance. A small ridley sliding back into the Gulf carries the hope of a protected beach with it. Ahead, the water looks open and calm, though human tools can stretch through it like nearly invisible walls. A turtle moving through coastal water may seem to be crossing open space. Light filters down from the surface. Sand lies below in pale ripples. Small fish turn in loose groups, and the current moves softly around the turtle's shell. From a distance, the water can look empty. Human tools can be almost invisible inside it. A fishing net may hang in the water as a wide wall of mesh. A long line may stretch for many kilometers, carrying baited hooks. A trawl net may open behind a boat and move across the bottom like a large cloth mouth. These tools are made to catch fish, shrimp, or other seafood. Yet other animals can enter them by accident. That accidental capture is called bycatch. Bycatch happens when a fishing method catches an animal people were not trying to catch. For sea turtles, bycatch is dangerous because they breathe air. A turtle caught underwater may be unable to surface. Even a strong swimmer with a hard shell and powerful flippers can be trapped by lines, hooks, or netting. Shrimp trawls created one of the clearest problems. A trawl net is pulled behind a boat, usually shaped like a cone. The wide end opens in the water. The narrow end collects what enters. Shrimp can pass into the back of the net, along with fish, crabs, debris, and sometimes turtles. A sea turtle entering that space may keep swimming forward into narrowing mesh, with no easy path out. One of the most practical answers is called a turtle excluder device, often shortened to TED. A TED is an escape system built into a trawl net. Inside the net, metal bars form a slanted grid. Shrimp and smaller animals pass through the bars and continue toward the collecting end. A turtle, shark, ray, or other larger animal meets the grid and is guided toward an opening covered by a flap. The flap pushes open as the animal exits, then settles back into place as the net keeps moving. The idea is simple enough to picture. The net creates two paths. Small catch moves through the grid. Large animals are directed out through the escape opening. Since 1987, turtle excluder devices have protected sea turtles from accidental capture in many shrimp trawl fisheries. The design has been tested, adjusted, measured, and improved over time. Bar spacing matters. The angle of the grid matters. The size and placement of the escape opening matter. A device installed poorly may fail, while a properly fitted one can allow a turtle to leave the net before it runs out of air. This is conservation made physical. Metal bars, mesh, and a flap change the outcome of a dive. A turtle swimming into a trawl may meet the grid, slide along it, push through the opening, and rise again toward the surface. Its head breaks the water. Its lungs fill. Its flippers settle back into their slow rhythm. Other fishing risks are harder to solve with one device. Hooks can be changed in shape or baited differently. Fishing areas can be closed during certain seasons. Boats can slow down near nesting or feeding zones. People can remove lost gear, often called ghost gear, because it keeps drifting and catching animals after it has been abandoned. Each solution works on a particular part of the problem. A sea turtle's life crosses many human systems. It may pass through a shrimp ground, a shipping lane, a crab trap field, or a coastal bay filled with small boats. The ocean is still the turtle's home. Yet the water now holds designs made for human hands. Some of those designs can harm. Some can be changed. That detail gives the story a useful kind of hope. A threat made from shape, pressure, and movement can sometimes be reduced by changing shape, pressure, and movement. The turtle continues through the water after escape, carrying breath, direction, and memory. Far ahead, the same animal may one day approach land again. When it reaches the shore, another set of signals will be waiting, written in sand, darkness, buildings, and light. On the coast, those signals can look ordinary to human eyes. A row of houses may sit quietly behind the dunes. A road may run parallel to the water. A hotel window may glow softly above a balcony. A seawall may hold the sand in a straight edge, where the beach once sloped more gently. To a person walking after sunset, the scene can feel peaceful. To a sea turtle, the same beach may carry mixed instructions. Nesting females depend on darkness, open sand, and a clear path from water to dune. When a female rises from the surf, she is looking for a place where her eggs can stay above normal tides and develop in warm, breathable sand. A bright beachfront can change that decision. Strong lights near the shore can discourage females from nesting, causing them to turn back toward the water or move to a less suitable stretch of beach. That matters because a nesting attempt costs energy. A female has already carried mature eggs inside her body and may have traveled a long distance from feeding grounds to reach the coast. The beach itself has become part of her reproductive system. Its slope, sand grain size, moisture, temperature, and darkness all help determine whether a nest can work. Coastal development can alter those features in slow, visible ways. Buildings may replace dune plants that once held sand in place. Roads and parking lots may make the upper beach brighter and harder. Foot traffic can pack the sand down, making it less easy to dig. Beach furniture left overnight can block a crawling turtle. Deep tire tracks from vehicles can trap hatchlings in narrow grooves that run parallel to the sea. A seawall may protect a building, while also preventing the beach from shifting naturally during storms. Beaches are made from movement. Waves bring sand in and carry sand away. Wind pushes dry grains toward dunes. Storms cut into the shore. Then calmer seasons may rebuild part of it. A healthy beach is often a changing shape, with soft slopes, high dry areas, and room for dunes. When a shoreline is fixed in place with walls, roads, or buildings, the sand can lose some of that room. For sea turtles, the result can be fewer suitable places to nest. The lighting problem from the hatchling's first crawl also becomes part of this larger coastal change. A hatchling uses the brightest low horizon to find the sea. On a dark natural beach, that glow usually comes from open water. Along a developed shore, brighter signals may come from porch lights, street lights, hotel rooms, restaurants, parking lots, or passing cars. The hatchling follows brightness because that rule once worked. The false signal pulls it inland, away from the wet sand and the moving foam. People have learned practical ways to reduce this confusion. Lights visible from the beach can be turned off during nesting season. Fixtures can be shielded so the beam points downward instead of spreading across sand. Bulbs can be changed to warmer amber or red tones, which are less likely to attract hatchlings than bright white or blue-rich light. Curtains can be closed at night. Beach furniture can be removed after sunset. Vehicle access can be limited where nests are present. These changes are small in human terms, yet large in turtle terms. A single shaded lamp can restore darkness to part of a hatchling's path. A cleared stretch of sand can give a nesting female enough room to dig. A marked nest can keep people from stepping directly over buried eggs. The beach then becomes easier for turtle senses to read. A turtle does not need a perfect wilderness to survive every night. It needs the key signals to remain clear enough. Dark land behind, open glow over water, loose sand above the tide, and a path without hard barriers. Human comfort often gathers at the shore because beaches feel open, warm, and beautiful. Sea turtle survival gathers there because beaches are rare biological doorways between ocean and land. The same sand can hold vacation lights, footprints, nests, and tracks from ancient bodies moving slowly under the moon. As the shoreline changes, the turtle's old instructions meet a coast that keeps being rewritten. Light can change the beach after sunset. Heat can change it through the day, through the season, and through the buried weeks when eggs are forming below the surface. Through those buried weeks, the beach continues to act on the eggs. Heat moves down from the sunlit surface. Coolness rises during the darker hours before dawn. Rainwater seeps between grains and changes the feel of the nest. A dry nest, a damp nest, a shaded nest, and a nest in open sand can each become a different small world. For sea turtles, those differences reach into development. The young turtles forming inside the eggs do not have sex chromosomes working the way they do in humans. Their sex is shaped mainly by the temperature of the nest during a sensitive middle part of incubation. Cooler nests tend to produce more males. Warmer nests tend to produce more females. Around 27.7 degrees Celsius, or about 82 degrees Fahrenheit, many nests lean male. Around 31 degrees Celsius, or about 88 degrees Fahrenheit, many nests lean female. Between those numbers, a clutch can produce a mixture. A few degrees inside the sand can shape the balance of a generation. This balance is one reason warming beaches matter so much. Climate change can sound very large, with talk of air temperatures, oceans, ice, storms, and coastlines. For a sea turtle, the effect can be as small and direct as the warmth around a single egg. A beach that grows hotter over many nesting seasons may produce more female hatchlings. At first, more females might sound helpful, because females lay the eggs that continue the population. A population still needs enough males for healthy breeding across time. When the balance shifts too far for too long, the future becomes less steady. The exact outcome depends on each beach. A nest under dune plants may stay cooler than a nest in bare sand. A pale beach may reflect more sunlight than a darker beach. A rainy season may lower nest temperatures for days at a time. A deeper nest may warm more slowly than a shallow one. This makes the science local. Two beaches in the same country can have different temperatures. Two nests on the same beach can develop under different conditions. Researchers often place small temperature loggers near nests to record these patterns hour by hour. The numbers show how the beach changes with clouds, tides, rainfall, and heat waves. Warming is only one part of the pressure. Water also changes the nest environment. Sea turtle eggs need oxygen from the tiny air spaces between sand grains. If seawater floods a nest for too long, those air spaces can fill. The embryos may lose the oxygen they need to keep developing. Embryos are young animals still forming inside the egg. Storm surge can push seawater high onto a beach during strong weather. Surge means water lifted and driven inland by wind and low air pressure during a storm. A nest that was safe on a calm night may be reached during a tropical storm or hurricane. Erosion adds another slow pressure. Erosion means sand being carried away by waves, wind, or currents. When a beach narrows, the area above the high tide line can shrink. Females may have fewer places to dig a nest that is high, loose, and stable. If the ocean keeps moving landward while buildings, roads, or seawalls hold the upper beach in place, the nesting area can become squeezed. This squeezing is sometimes called coastal squeeze. The beach has less room to shift naturally. A turtle reaching shore may find wet sand where dry nesting area used to be. She may dig, strike water, abandon the spot, and move again. During one nesting night, that extra movement costs energy. Across many seasons, a shrinking beach changes what is possible for the whole population. The future of sea turtles is therefore tied to physical details that can be measured. Sand temperature, nest depth, moisture, flooding, beach width, the height of dunes, the reach of storm waves. Each detail may seem small beside the ocean, yet every hatchling begins inside those conditions. A sea turtle can cross currents, dive through depth, and follow magnetic patterns across great distances. Its life still depends on whether a quiet chamber beneath the sand remains warm enough, dry enough, and high enough for eggs to finish forming. The pressures are slow, physical, and spread across decades. The answers have to be just as patient, held in repeated work on real beaches, season after season. That kind of patient work begins with the turtle's own pace. Sea turtles do not recover quickly because they do not live quickly. A hatchling that reaches the water may need many years before it becomes an adult. Some green turtles may take 20 to 40 years to mature, depending on food, location, and growth conditions. Loggerheads, leatherbacks, hawksbills, and ridleys all follow their own timelines. Yet the same slow pattern remains. Protection given to eggs today may not show its full result on a nesting beach for decades. This makes sea turtle conservation a long promise. People may guard a nest in June and wait until August for hatchlings. Then the larger waiting begins. Those hatchlings must survive currents, predators, fishing gear, plastic, changing beaches, and long migrations before any female returns to lay eggs of her own. Because the life cycle is so spread out, conservation has to work in many places at once. On the beach, trained workers may mark nests with stakes and signs so people do not step directly over them. In some places, screens or cages are placed over nests to reduce digging by predators, while still allowing hatchlings to emerge. Lights near shore can be turned off, shielded, or changed to warmer colors during nesting season. Beach furniture can be removed at night so females do not crawl into chairs, umbrellas, or ropes. In the water, turtle excluder devices can give trapped turtles a way out of shrimp trawls. Fishing hooks, lines, and seasonal closures can be adjusted to reduce bycatch. Harvest limits and trade bans can protect turtles from being taken for meat, eggs, shells, or leather. Each action protects one part of a larger chain. Eggs need sand. Hatchlings need darkness and a clear path. Juveniles need feeding areas. Adults need safe migration routes. Nesting females need beaches they can still read. The green turtle shows how long work can matter. In 2025, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, often called the IUCN, classified green turtles as least concern at the global level. Least concern means the species, as a whole, is currently considered at lower risk of extinction than it once was. That change followed decades of protection, including nesting beach management, limits on hunting and egg collection, safer fishing practices, and international conservation work. Across assessed rookeries, green turtle nesting was linked to an overall increase of about 28% since the 1970s. A rookery is a nesting colony, a place where many females return to lay eggs. That number carries real weight because it comes from beaches where people counted nests year after year, often in heat, darkness, rain, and early morning light. The result is encouraging, though it is uneven. Green turtles are divided into 11 major subpopulations around the world. Some have improved strongly. Others remain small, fragmented, or under pressure. Fragmented means separated into smaller groups with less connection between them. Under US law, green turtles are still divided into 11 distinct population segments, and those segments remain listed as endangered or threatened. A distinct population segment is a legally recognized group within a species, often tied to geography, genetics, or conservation need. This detail matters because global recovery can hide local trouble. A species can improve overall while certain nesting beaches still lose sand, certain feeding grounds still face damage, and certain populations still need protection. The hopeful part is therefore careful, not simple. Sea turtle recovery comes from repeated work matching the repeated nature of the turtle's life. A female returns to a beach. People keep the beach dark. Eggs develop in marked sand. Hatchlings move toward the surf. Fishing gear leaves more turtles breathing. Years pass, and some turtles come back larger than when they left. The story has become difficult because every part of the life cycle touches a changing world. It also keeps room for repair because many of the pressures can be measured, adjusted, and reduced. A shielded lamp changes a hatchling's path. A protected nest changes the odds of emergence. A metal grid inside a net changes the chance of reaching air. Across enough seasons, small corrections can gather into visible return. After the measurements, laws, beaches, devices, and years of counting, the story can become quiet again. One turtle approaches one shore. Her flippers press through dark water. The old circle waits in the sand ahead. Near the shore, the water grows shallow enough for waves to lift and fold. The female turtle feels the bottom rise beneath her. Sand moves under the surf in soft ridges, shaped by the same water that has carried her for years. Her head breaks the surface. A breath enters her lungs. Then the shell sinks again, dark and rounded beneath the night. This single animal now holds the whole journey quietly inside her body. Her flippers carry the shape of an ancient swimmer. Her shell carries the old reptile plan, changed for open water. Her lungs keep her tied to air, even after long dives and long migrations. Somewhere far behind her are feeding grounds, currents, drifting food, and the wide spaces where young turtles grow beyond sight of land. Somewhere ahead is the beach, with its slope, darkness, warmth and sand. The path does not need to be spoken by the turtle. It is carried in movement. It is carried in instinct. It is carried in the hidden guidance of Earth's magnetic field, in the memory of a coast, and in the steady pull of a place where eggs can rest. When she reaches the shallows, a wave lifts her forward. Foam slides across the shell and falls away. Her front flippers touch sand. The water that made her graceful begins to loosen its hold. Now the body must do the harder work again. She pulls herself forward with slow, heavy strokes, leaving wide marks behind her. Each track is a sign of both effort and return. The same kind of path may have appeared on beaches long before people built lights along the shore. The same kind of path may appear again when hatchlings crawl out under a darker sky. A sea turtle's life works as a chain. The beach holds the eggs. The sand shapes part of the young turtle's future. The hatchling reads the bright horizon. The surf carries the body into water. Currents widen the world. Magnetic signals help turn open ocean into a place with direction. Feeding grounds give the turtle size and strength. Years later, the adult comes back to land, carrying the cycle forward. When one part changes, the rest of the story feels it. A bright lamp can alter a hatchling's first path. A warmer nest can change the balance inside a generation. A net can interrupt a breath. A protected beach can give the next clutch a better chance. A careful change in human design can leave more room for an older design to continue. Nothing here needs to rush. Sea turtle time is wide and patient. It moves through seasons of nesting, years of growth, and long returns across water. It belongs to animals that may spend most of life out of sight, then appear for a few quiet hours on sand. By morning, the female may be gone. The tide may soften her tracks. People walking the beach may see only faint marks, a smooth patch, and the edge of the sea brightening under dawn. Below the surface, eggs rest in the chamber she made. Warmth surrounds them. Air remains between grains. Inside each shell, a small body begins the old work again. Flippers form. Eyes darken. A shell takes shape. The world waits above as slope, shadow, and distant brightness. For now, the nest is still. Waves keep breathing along the shore. Farther out, currents continue their slow turning. Somewhere in deep water, a leatherback follows soft drifting prey. Somewhere in a reef, a hawksbill reaches into coral spaces. Somewhere above a seagrass meadow, a green turtle grazes in filtered light. All of it belongs to the same quiet pattern. Water to shore, shore to water. Life carried forward by signals small enough to miss and strong enough to guide. The ocean receives each generation without needing to explain itself. A hatchling will rise when the sand loosens. A small body will cross the beach. The brightest horizon will wait over the water, and the ancient shape will move again, flipper by flipper, breath by breath, into the dark blue calm.